Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we talk about all things fandom on this channel, and we talk about it in a positive way. If that's something that appeals to you, you've come to the right place. We're so happy to have you here today. And today also happens to be Sci-Fi Sunday on this channel, where we talk about all things sci-fi, fantasy, and comic book related. And I know that it's getting closer to the Halloween season. People start to think about Halloween movies. You may not quite be ready for that yet, being that it's not quite October, but you can't go anywhere without already seeing all sorts of Halloween decorations all over the place, which always gets me in the mood. So I thought it would be fun today to take a look at 5 sci-fi movies you could watch this Halloween. So let's jump right into it. So yeah, it's not quite that season yet for a lot of people, but I tend to start a little bit earlier. I tend to always start to think about Halloween the second I start to see things in the stores. Whether that's in August or September, the second that I start seeing Halloween stuff and Halloween stuff is bombarding me when I walk into a store, that's when I start to think about Halloween and how much fun of a holiday that is for horror movies. And that being said, I know that not everyone is quite ready for it, but here are 5 sci-fi movies that you could watch that might get you in the mood for your Halloween season this year. Coming in at number 1 is one of my all-time favorite sci-fi horror movies, Event Horizon, a 1997 science fiction horror film directed by Paul Anderson and written by Philip Eisner. Now it stars Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill, and it is set in the year 2047, and it follows a crew of astronauts who are sent on a rescue mission after a missing spaceship, the Event Horizon, spontaneously appears in orbit around Neptune. Now this movie is a lot of fun. It is so much fun. If you're a horror fan, you're going to love this. If you're a sci-fi fan, you're probably going to love this as well. It has a lot of gory moments and a lot of really fun scenes. But what it actually is it's almost like a haunted house movie that takes place on a spaceship. And it is amazing. It is definitely one of my favorite movies to watch this time of year. If I'm not quite ready for all the horror movies, this is one that I can watch that will get me in that mood. So I urge you to check it out if you haven't seen it yet. So a couple of our movies on this list you're going to recognize. And the reason you're going to recognize them is either you haven't seen the remake or you haven't seen the original. And when it comes to these types of movies, I always tend to recommend all versions of the movie. But we're going to talk about a few of these movies now. Because coming in at number 2 is The Thing, a 1982 science fiction horror film directed by John Carpenter himself, from a screenplay by Bill Lancaster. Now it is based on the 1938 novella by John W. Campbell called Who Goes There? It tells the story of a group of American researchers in Antarctica who encounter an alien life form that then imitates other organisms. The group is overcome with paranoia and conflict until they can no longer trust each other or even know if one of them is the thing. It stars Kurt Russell and it also stars Keith David, 2 icons of cinema. One more so within the line of sci-fi cinema and romantic comedy type of movies, and the other more in tune of that voice acting and all this other stuff. One of the most amazing duos that could possibly have been in this movie. Now, you might not realize it, but this movie is actually based on another adaptation. That is 1951's The Thing from Another World. Now, the funny thing is that the original movie is drastically different. And the thing that John Carpenter brought us actually plays like a sequel, which sort of sets that stage for you. And if you haven't seen the original film, I urge you to check that out as well. But also make sure you're checking this one out because it is our number 2 spot. Coming in at number 3 is the Re-Animator, also known as H.P. Lovecraft's Re-Animator, a 1985 horror comedy film, but this is a little bit sci-fi too, actually, even though it doesn't really seem that way. It's based on an H.P. Lovecraft novelette called Herbert West Re-Animator, and it's directed by Stuart Gordon and produced by Brian Usna. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name. It stars Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West, a medical student who has invented a way to reanimate deceased bodies. He and his classmate, Dan Kane, played by Bruce Abbott, begin to test this new serum on dead bodies. And this movie is great. Now, it's not 1,000% true to the novelette that was by H.P. Lovecraft. It's not even close. However, it is something that is worth watching, and it does have that science fiction type of element to it. It is also kind of gory at times and brutally funny at others. If you're looking for that sort of mix of sci-fi, fantasy, and comedy, you could do a lot worse than this one. Based on that H.P. Lovecraft story, you know that you're getting into some craziness. So if you haven't seen it, I urge you to check it out. Next up is another one of those films that has a remake. And it is one of those that is actually pretty cool. So coming in next is The Fly from 1986. It is a science fiction horror film directed and co-written by David Cronenberg, who is a legend in horror. The film stars Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. It is loosely based on the 1957 short story of the same name and the 1958 film of the same name that stars some very well-known people. And if you don't know, you need to check it out and find out. So the thing of it is that this movie is great. This movie is one of those movies that actually a lot of people think is better than the original. And I don't 1,000% agree, because I do so love the original film. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. But then I also appreciate this one for its gore, for its science fiction element, and you could do a lot worse than this movie. You definitely need to check it out, but I also do urge you to check out the original film as well. And in our fifth spot today, we have another film that has been around forever. This other film has so many remakes, so many things going for it, that you've probably heard of it. If you haven't seen it, you need to, because this one, however, is the one that people are most familiar with, despite the fact that the other ones exist. And that, of course, is Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. It is a science fiction psychological horror film directed by Philip Kaufman, written by W.D. Richer, and starring Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Veronica Cartwright, Leonard Nimoy, and, get this, Jeff Goldblum. So Jeff Goldblum has actually appeared in 2 of the remake films that we talk about today. But this one is also adapted from something else. A 1955 novel, The Body Snatchers by Jack Finney. The novel was previously adapted into a 1956 film of the same name. The plot involves a San Francisco health inspector and his colleague who discover that humans are being replaced by alien duplicates. And what happens next is utterly insane. It is one of the best movies, and you could do so much worse than to see this version of that movie. However, it has been adapted quite a few times over the years. There are a few other adaptations, and I'm going to tell you straight up, it doesn't matter which adaptation you find. If you have never seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers, you need to watch one of those versions of the movie. But if you can find this one, this is the one I'm going to recommend the most. It is the most known version of this movie, even going farther than that original that has become a classic. This is the one that people often associate with this title. So I urge you to check it out if you have never seen it. Now that does it for our 5 sci-fi horror films that you could watch this year. And I urge you to check all of them out, and the ones that have remakes and have been adapted a few times, I urge you to check out every single one of those adaptations, because these stories are classic for a reason. And you could do worse than to watch any version of these movies. So definitely check it out. And as always, I want to hear from you guys in the comment. If you've seen any of these movies, let me know what you thought of them. And if you've never seen them, watch them and let me know what you thought of them. If there's any I've forgotten on this list that are sci-fi horror type of films that you feel needed to be here, I want to hear about them in case I haven't seen them so I can check them out as well. Then friends, like I said, I want to hear from you, so make sure you leave me that comment in the comment box below. Make sure you share this video with all of your friends so that they can be a part of this crazy conversation we're having. Then make sure that you hit that like button. If you like positive talk about your fandoms, you're going to want to let that algorithm know that. So hit that like button. And if you're enjoying our channel, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button. So hit that subscribe button. Right next to it is the notification. Hit that so you never miss a single video we do. Because friends, at the end of the day, I know it and you know it, fandom is family.